Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody. It is time for our Wednesday evening Under the Radar podcast, which we're recording here on Thursday, December
Yes.
16th, because of the puppet.
Right. Yes, we are live on tape delay on Wednesday night here on Thursday.
It is Thursday evening, December 16th, around 9:30 p.m. We are recording our Under the Radar podcast. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. To my side here is the puppet, David Griggs. Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org might be joining us as we go along tonight. He's been having some technical issues tonight, but we'll try to get him on the show. If not, I'm sorry, but you just got to hear the puppet for the next hour. So
Right. I can recite anything. I've got a lot of reading material here. I'll read The Great Gatsby. I'll pull at Andy Kaufman.
This is being our Under the Radar show. No, this is not the Andy Kaufman show. Being our Under the Radar show, we are not here to talk about the power conferences. So we're not here to talk about the ACC, the Big East, the Big 10, the Big 12, the Pac-12, the SEC. You want to hear about those? We did it Monday night on our Hoops HD report. You want to hear about the other four multi-bid leagues, the American, the Atlantic 10, Mountain West, West Coast, also not on this show. That's Monday night. That's our Monday night Hoops HD report.
It's Monday night.
The rest of Division 1, the other 22 conferences, plus a few mythical conferences that we like to follow, are on this show, and we're going to go through all of them. We're going to spend 45 minutes to an hour on each and every one of these teams.
Yes.
So if you're here to hear about half an hour about South Carolina State basketball, you are in the right place.
Right place. Yes, we have a 36-hour extravaganza planned.
No, I hope not. But what we like to do on the show actually is we'll go through the conferences. We'll start with the feature conference. We'll end with our top 10 list and a few other things. But before we even pull up the conferences, David, we were talking a little bit before we started the podcast. We unfortunately, over the last few days, are starting to backtrack on some of this COVID stuff and start to feel a little bit like last year, unfortunately, with not only games being canceled, but games being invented at the last minute here as well.
Right. And it has been disappointing. It has been unfortunate. It's just aggravating is really the world. It isn't even, this is, it isn't even being upset. It's being more or less aggravated. That's kind of my news. I thought we were kind of through this, and I don't want to dismiss any public health issues or concerns, but a lot of this the good news, and I guess that this is what the way to put it. A lot of the good news is a lot of these positive tests that you're seeing on these teams involve people that aren't seriously sick or that didn't even know that they were infected. So it's not as severe, not even close, or doesn't appear to be, as when COVID first hit back in March of 2020 and started wreaking all kinds of havoc. So hopefully we get through this one a little bit easier, but it is kind of frustrating and a little bit unsettling and a little bit like insecure. Like, you don't know if your schedule is going to be, if it's going to be altered, changed, games are going to be canceled. You're worried about the health of your own players, and you're worried about being able to play your season. And, I thought we were through that. I didn't think we'd have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, we the news today is UCLA already had gone into a pause the other night. Now it looks like Ohio State as well. There was supposed to be a doubleheader on Saturday. Again, this is not under the radar, but it was supposed to be UCLA, North Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio State. Now we're hearing Kentucky and North Carolina will be the single game that's being played out in Vegas, and that game should be happening. Another game that is getting shut down, that is off, is part
Neither one of us can talk tonight.
Yeah, but part of a doubleheader this weekend was supposed to be Iona and Seton Hall, which was a huge game for Iona and Under the Radar program. That game is off because of Seton Hall. Iona is desperately seeking a new opponent to play them in Madison Square Garden on Saturday. So
yeah, and you hope they could. Yeah, and you hope that they can find one that is maybe not of the caliber of Seton Hall, but that isn't just some other by game level opponent. Like Iona, it's a shame Rocco's not on the call yet. Maybe he will be when we get to the Metro Atlantic. I don't know that they need the Seton Hall game simply because they already have that huge win against Alabama. that, and with Monmouth being really good in that league as well, I think that they've had the opportunities that they needed to get inside the bubble so long as they hold serve and blow through their conference. But that is still a huge opportunity missed for them if this game isn't played, because even if they lose, it could still, it would be a loss that wouldn't hurt them.
Well, and that kind of, unfortunately, I don't think Rocco's going to make it to the Metro Atlantic because, Griggs, I think that's a good segue right into our feature conference of the night, which is the Metro Atlantic.
Oh, okay.
And I figured this is a great conference to start off with. Iona, if you've been following us, has been the #1 team in our top 10 list for the last several weeks here. And the Gales are off to a terrific start at 9-2 overall. But right behind them, in fact, with a better net than them, is this Monmouth team. And I really want to take a look at both these teams. I got one of their profiles up here. I thought we had both up, but obviously I had Murray State on my mind when I was prepping for the show. But you see here the Iona on the left with that huge Alabama win, Monmouth on the right with wins at Cincinnati and at Towson, and much further down there, they've won at Yale, they've won at St. Joe's, they've won at Pitt. Iona also beat Yale, by the way. So there are some quality wins on both these profiles. And other than the loss at Charlotte for Monmouth, nothing really bad in either one of them.
Yeah, the loss at Charlotte is a bit of a head scratcher, and it was a road game. And that St. John's game, you and I watched that. They were in that. It felt like St. John's was in control, but Monmouth would battle back, and then it looked like the Johnnies were in control. But they were within reach of that game all the way really down to the last minute of the game. Their wins at Cincinnati and at Towson, fairly quality, and they've got several other wins away from home that I think can kind of accumulate. Look at that road record. It is 7-2 in true road games. That's just really, really good. There's no getting around.
They've only played 2 home games, and they have this amazing 9-2 record. That now, next 5 in a row are at home, so that's going to change very quickly here.
Right, and one of those 5 is Iona if it goes off his schedule. Now, looking at Iona here, they certainly top out. Alabama, with the exception of the Memphis game, looks like easily a protected seed. They have a win away from home against a protected seed, and there's nothing that in and of itself can get an under the radar team in so long as they hold serve the rest of the way. But
by the way, by protected seed, you mean one of the top 16 teams in the nation?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, and looking down, I think the neutral floor win against Liberty is pretty good. I think Hofstra, these are kind of wins that could maybe even end up being tier 2, but even if they don't, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that will be the problem with Iona. At the end of the day, you may be one great win. Maybe you split with Monmouth. You have 2 good wins and not much else, because there's, especially if with the seed whole game off, there may not be very many other opportunities, and they're going to have to do it on the strength of a very gaudy record and really not lose more than 1 game other than maybe one of the Monmouth games in conference.
I agree with that. Like, they have to blow through, because if you look at their schedule there, the vast majority of those are sub 200 opponents, right. And you cannot lose those.
And the same thing with Monmouth on the other side, though. You've got 2 tier 1 wins right now. That win at Towson is barely tier 1. It is 1. If Towson drops 1 point in the net, it becomes tier 2. That may be a tier 3 by the end of the day. The Cincinnati win might drop off as well. So they're going to have that dominant record as well, I think, on Monmouth's side, and they're going to have to at least get a split with Iona. So, but there is chances for at-large bids for both these teams.
I think there are. Yeah.
And the rest of this conference, there are solid overall records in this conference. Only a few teams at the bottom with losing records. And heading into the season, I'm still there. I liked a lot of the teams in this conference to not be able to compete with the top team. I thought it was one team. I the top 2 teams.
Yeah.
But you look at teams like Fairfield goes and picks up 2 road wins this week at William & Mary, at Fairleigh Dickinson, but it's 2 road wins.
Yeah, it is 2 road wins. Now, Fairfield, again, they do have that bloated record. The strength of schedule has not been the toughest.
344. There's a few.
330.
Quinnipiac is worse. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
But you are seeing some bloated records, and that could at least sustain the metrics. But I think the committee, we've had committee members on this show. I think that they will evaluate Iona and Monmouth fairly. The more and more years that go by, I think they're getting better and better with that. And They're good. I mean, if they blow through this league and win all of these games the way that they should, I think that they're going to look at the profile and be like, well, they held serve and they've got some big wins. So yeah, take them.
All right, we got to get moving on here, but real
Yeah.
quickly, that you see the upcoming schedule there on the right-hand side. That very top game, cross that off already. Iona's Seton Hall game is off. Hopefully, the rest of these games will go on as scheduled. Iona's may get a different game opponent, as we mentioned, for Saturday, and keep your ears open. Follow Twitter tomorrow. We should be hearing something soon about what's going on with Iona's replacement team in the Garden for Saturday. Back to the America East now. Let's run through all these conferences in alphabetical order. Not much to be said about this conference for this past week. Vermont, who has been the team we've been kind of keeping an eye on the most, did pick up a win at Brown on Friday, but I don't really think that there's much more to discuss about this conference at the moment until we get to league play.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Vermont is kind of the team I like the most. UMass Lowell obviously had that nice win against Dayton. That's probably the best overall win that anyone from this conference has managed. But a lot of inactivity this week. That's why we spent a little more time on the Metro Atlantic. I think we're going to have time. There's nothing else to say. Well, who's next?
We're going to just keep cruising through here.
Yeah.
Vermont this week on Sunday, they're going to be at Northeastern. They've also got a game against Colgate coming up on next Wednesday. Lowell, they got a pair of home games on the schedule there, but we're going to get a lot more into the America East when we get into conference play. This conference has not shown any shot of an at-large bid. So
I agree with that.
Over in the A-Sun Conference, we've got this divisional format this year.
I hate this.
Really disappointed by Liberty. We've been, but I still think this Liberty team is a very good team. I don't think they're going to get up to at-large bid good, especially after losing that. Not really looking that good against Stephen F. Austin on Saturday, honestly.
No, not at all. I was kind of surprised by them as well. I still like them. I think they're going to kick it into gear and be the team to beat in this conference. Another team to watch that's kind of been disappointing that also looked good for a little bit was Lipscomb. I was kind of expecting more out of them than what we've seen.
Yeah,
just three D1 wins,
and the home loss to Tennessee State. It's a mediocre Tennessee State team at best. Maybe a bad. And then they followed that.
No,
they lose to Florida State. Yeah, you lost to Florida State, but they lost by 37 points.
Right.
To Florida State.
Gulf Coast team to watch out of this conference.
I do like. Yeah, they did pick up a road win at Robert Morris on Saturday. I think that's the only game of theirs that was in this past week here. But I do agree with you. I do like this Gulf Coast team moving forward. In fact, if we take a look at the schedule ahead, there's actually a lot of games on the schedule ahead here.
Oh yeah,
a lot of these you can see a lot of these teams try to get a bunch of games in next week as we get that little lull between exams ending and the Christmas break starting to Tuesday, Wednesday are very busy days. But you can see there,
Liberty is playing who?
Liberty is playing East Carolina tomorrow.
Oh, Wyoming, Stanford. Okay, I misunderstood that.
Liberty, you see their game against Northern Iowa Wednesday. That's the first game of the Diamond Head Classic. They're out of Diamond Head. Assuming that tournament's a go, they'll play either Wyoming or Stanford in the second round, depending on how those games play out. Gulf Coast, interesting home game against Mercer, a Mercer team that's had a little bit of life as well. So keep an eye on that game too. David, how about the Big Sky Conference?
Okay. Yeah. How about it? I still like this Weber State team. They entered the week undefeated and had 2 losses and 2 rather decisive losses. I shouldn't say that I'm disappointed, but I thought that it wouldn't have, I was expecting them to be a little more competitive than what they were against Utah State, who's really good, admittedly. But I still like them and Southern Utah the most out of this league by quite a bit, actually.
Yeah, those are the top 2 teams. They're both members of the Beehive Conference as well.
Yes.
But there they are at the top, and those are I agree with you. Those are the 2 teams in this league to be following as we get. We had a little bit of league play already. As we get even further into league play, as we get past get to the start of the new year here. But upcoming this week, we have a little more Beehive action. BYU at Weber State on Saturday.
That one should be wild. All Beehive games are. How about Southern Utah probably swinging way over their heads, but taking on a Michigan team who's better than they are, but who hasn't always had it together this year either. I'm kind of got that one circled. I'm not calling the upset, but I will say that Southern Utah it's a good team for them to really strut their stuff against.
Okay, that's fair. I also want to
Yeah.
throw this out here. Actually, we'll probably be doing our next under the radar next week on Wednesday, so we can talk about it again then. Weber State, another game next Thursday against Fresno, though. So a couple
Yeah.
of big tests here for Weber. I don't know that they're good enough to win these games, but they're getting them at home.
They're getting them. Yeah, they are. So
So this is 3 straight huge home tests. They failed in the Utah State game. Let's see what happens in these next two. Even they split these two. That's good enough for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep things rolling along here. This is one of our quickest podcasts ever so far. Big South Conference, where we see a lot of red, a lot of losses this week out of this league. So
and it's one of those leagues, like all under the radar leagues. They're on the receiving end of a lot of bye games.
Yeah,
and
but
those games are very hard to win. But yeah, to your point, that's not what it all was.
Right. The Campbell, who was the team we really like out of this conference, losing a home game to a decent Georgia Southern team, but it was a tough game, but they lost it by 3 at home, and that was a disappointing loss, I think, for this league.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I will give a shout out though to Presbyterian. Not only are they in first place in the South, but they just came off a win over one of our favorite schools, David, Carver Bible College.
Carver Bible College.
And in fact, we got a little update on Carver Bible. I did a little more research.
Yes.
We were missing their non-D1 games in the standings we've been giving you the last few weeks. We have updated it. They actually started off 0-2 against non-D1 teams, played a couple NAIA teams back in October. So up to 0-17 now for the season.
Okay. Yes. Now, again, we are trying to get this in with Delta and COVID and with the Omicron variant, there's going to be teams that need games. Has Iona, to your knowledge, reached out to Carver Bible College?
I did tweet it out to Rick Pitino today. Told him to reach out to Carver Bible. They are playing South Carolina State tonight. I don't have a final score in that game, although I believe it has gone final. But
nobody at South Carolina State really knew anything about this game, and it was their game.
But they are free on Saturday. They are available to go to Madison Square Garden. They're available to go to Vegas and play.
Yes, they
play
are
one of those teams if they want.
And we could I bet they'd be willing to play both in one day.
Now we may have a little bit of a problem here, Griggs, because when you look at the schedule, there's actually a total of 6 non-D1 games, 2 that they've played already, 4 more coming up in January and February. The limit's 4.
The limit is 4.
So we may need to.
There's a lot of there's ways around this that we could always try a waiver. We have submitted.
Well, I was kind of thinking, look at January 21st at Albany State. We can change that to just at Albany.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and at Albany, that's a good idea.
And and when I was getting the schedule here, the February 9th game, the schedule just came up and said at LMU. I got excited. I thought they were playing at Loyola Marymount. A little more digging. Turned out it was Lincoln Memorial. We could change it back to Loyola Marymount.
Yeah, and Lincoln Memorial, aren't they moving up to D1? They're joining the big the ASUN, aren't they?
I don't think so. Oh, is that one of the teams that's talking about moving up? Maybe.
I thought they were. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, that's sort of like playing a D1 game. We're going to get this. Like we're going to get them eligible for the NCAA tournament. We want the committee to look at this profile and evaluate it and decide whether or not they think this team belongs. And them to have a fair shot.
And I do have a serious question for you, though. Is Carver Bible eligible for our Hoops HD Centenary Award?
I don't. Ooh, good question.
For the Centenary Award that we give to the worst team in D1, if we're going to call them a D1 team,
and
they haven't been within 50 of anybody all season.
Yes, if we get them to declare a D1 team, they will be eligible for it. That is a great question.
This was the longest discussion of Carver Bible on any podcast in the history of college basketball. Let's move on to upcoming schedule in the Big South. I don't even know. It's on the screen there. I don't know what you want to talk about.
Bradford going to Davidson. Walford going to Presby. Interesting game there. A good Walford team. And
then Presby's heading to Furman on Tuesday also. So
if
Presby really has something this year, we're going to know these over.
We're going to know it. Taking on some SoCon there.
Yeah. As far as Campbell goes, they are at UNC Wilmington. I don't think they have any game over the weekend, though. It does not look like it. How about moving on to the Big West Conference here?
Okay.
And your thoughts on this league, which although technically on the stand there, UC Davidson top, really this Irvine team who did
Yes.
lose to USC last night, but was in that game against a
Was,
very
was
good team.
was in that game, had a lead for much of that game. How can you not be impressed with the Eaters? And they kind of needed that. I don't know if there's enough for them to get inside the bubble without a win like that. They don't have a win like that, but they have played so well. This is easily a very dangerous team. And I think they're going to blow through the league. I think that they could get themselves, if not inside the bubble, around the 12 line and give somebody absolute nightmares in the round of 64.
I agree with you completely. Assuming they can get out of this conference. Don't overlook Santa Barbara. Hasn't performed up to snuff at all.
Yeah,
got crushed by St. Mary's over the weekend. I thought they'd be in that game, but I think this is a good Santa Barbara team. I think this is a good Riverside team. It's not going to be easy to win the Big West Conference tournament.
No, Santa Barbara has been kind of disappointing. They were a team that we were really touting in the preseason. So
Irvine has Duquesne on Sunday, and then goes a very, very, very interesting trip to Buffalo on Tuesday. So they're heading out. They're leaving leaving California, going to do a little cross country trip here for a couple of games. So should be interesting, and should be a couple of good tests for this team.
Yeah, and that's the kind of game that you and I are always pining for. Like, interregional under the radar matchups between good teams. That's a good game.
Also, Hawaii is obviously going to be hosting the Diamond Head. That's coming up Wednesday and Thursday. They could be getting to start with Vanderbilt. They could be getting BYU or South Florida on Thursday in their second game there. Over to the Colonial Athletic Association, where just as I'm getting really high on this College of Charleston team, tonight they go and they lose a game at Stetson.
I did not realize that before I voted. I was starting to really like them too. What a disappointment. This is a one bid league, and the best team in this league will not get it because they're not eligible for it.
Well, they're not eligible. If you're looking at some of the metrics, Charleston and even Towson, who we talked about a little bit earlier, their metrics are there. Towson with the win at Coppin State and home win over Greensboro. The metrics are kind of in the among the best metrics in this conference. So
they are a
little surprising. I haven't really discussed them much this season at all.
Yeah. They are you talking about Towson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pull them up real quick.
Okay.
And again, we'll kind of keep it moving here, but the metrics are a little bit scattershot right now. You see no quad 1 or 12 wins, but what they do have is wins away from home against teams that play well at home.
And only one really bad loss to an absolutely horrible Pitt team.
So, and when you look at like the what is it out there? Like, is Ken Palm on here anywhere?
Yeah, the Ken Palm is up here. Their Ken Palm rating is 129 right there.
Yeah, and that's pretty solid. That's offensive and defensive efficiency. When you look at their like net, it's or their RPI, their strength of or their what is it? The TVI, the first part is basically the teams that they've played, where they've played them, and how they did against them. I think some of those road wins is what's pulling Towson up.
I just put Elon up on there right there. Not that they've done anything all season, other than this past game where they beat what was a fairly decent Winthrop team. Kind of surprising 63-61, their first D1 win. So that was a nice win for the conference. James Madison did pick up the win over Radford. But let's take a look at the upcoming schedule here in the Colonial. We see, if you want to talk about Charleston, they've got Rhode Island on Sunday. Hopefully we'll get that game in, followed by a game at Old Dominion. And if you want to talk about Towson, they are at Navy on Wednesday in a very good under the radar matchup.
Yeah, that is good. If you want to talk about JMU, if they can win out or only lose one the rest of the way, I that will get them in.
Not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
But it's not going to happen. Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's a good James Madison team. It is not the type of James Madison team that's going to go 29-2 on the season.
Okay, I agree with you.
It's a James Madison team that could win 20 games. But I don't think 20. I don't think that 20-11 is out of the Colonial is an NCAA tournament bid.
No, it's not even close.
Conference USA, where I am still very high on this UAB team. They did pick up a huge wins over Millsaps and Grambling this week. But
Yeah,
besides that, I am still high on this UAB team.
yeah, I am too. And La Tech has been good. Louisiana Tech, Western Kentucky's had moments, but they've kind of been a little schizophrenic. I nobody. Those are teams that I think are decent, but UAB is legitimately good. And I I don't know. Are they on the bubble inside of it? I think that they can blow through this league.
Well, I don't know if they could blow through this league. I do think Louisiana Tech, your North Texas, your Western Kentucky, these are going to be tough games. Even trips to places like UTEP and Marshall are tough road trips. There are some tough road trips in this conference. Huge test for them. Soon we get this game in. I guess we got to start saying that with all these games. But
Yeah.
they got West Virginia, and they've got them in Birmingham coming up on Saturday. It's not at their home court. It's at the downtown arena, but it is technically a home
Right.
game for this.
And that is a huge opportunity for them. If they get that one, look out.
Yeah, if they get that one, they now have that marquee win on the resume. And if you can get the outright conference title, honestly, you have to go undefeated in the Conference USA, but
Yeah.
there's enough in this conference, I think, with a few top 150 teams here that if you have the best overall record of this conference at the end of the regular season, and you have a West Virginia win, and you have what they've done, they could definitely get some serious talk in the committee room.
Yeah, they definitely could.
Upcoming schedule, we already mentioned the West Virginia UAB game. There's a lot of other stuff here. I don't really know there's anything that really stands out.
North Texas going to Wichita, they're probably swinging over their heads, but it's a really big game. And LA, La Tech and LSU.
Okay,
I'm
yes,
kind of big.
you.
Yeah.
And the Louisville Western Kentucky game actually on Saturday is a huge one.
Yeah.
That game at Western Kentucky, the game will be in Bowling Green.
Mhm.
And next Wednesday, Middle Tennessee, who's got a solid overall record at Chattanooga. Very interesting road test for them.
Yeah. And Western Kentucky, Louisville, getting that series going again after Louisville said they were backing out of it. So
glad they got it going again.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Horizon League, where we didn't really. I don't believe Oakland even played this past week. They are the team I've been watching. I am still watching them, but I didn't see anything happen in this conference this week.
Yeah, Cleveland
other
State.
than IUPUI proving how horrible they are by losing a home game to Chicago State today. And congrats to the Cougars. We'll get to them and we'll get to the WAC at the end of the show.
Oh my God, they're atrocious. Cleveland State still has a good team. I know that they've had issues, I think, with games being canceled, but I think that once we get in the league play, which I guess we kind of are now, they're going to be a force. But it seemed like for years it was NKU and Wright State, and neither one of them are anywhere near the top right now. It's Oakland and Cleveland State who have kind of they're the teams to watch.
And the Oakland's big test is the Tuesday. It's their game against Michigan State. It's a game they play every year. That is definitely the game we're circling. Wright State is at NC State, so maybe you want to take a look at that if you want to talk about some other teams.
Wright State has been very disappointing this year.
Yeah. Youngstown's at West Virginia. That could be a dangerous game for West Virginia.
I'll say West Virginia will play under the radar schools, which is it's ironic that Huggins is the one banging the drum saying we need to break away from the NCAA. He likes to play those games. Anyway,
over in the Ivy League, we saw 2 Ivy League wins this week, both by Princeton, who now has the best metrics in this conference. And maybe we've been kind of overlooking this Princeton team so far.
I think I have, and I'll admit it. I was really big on Brown because of what they did early in the year, but it's starting to become apparent that they are not at the forefront the way Cornell and Princeton are. I don't know. Can Harvard get it in the gear, or is it just going to be Princeton and maybe Cornell and then probably just Princeton at the end?
Well, the big question with Harvard is, can they make the top 4, because they will be hosting the conference tournament. And that's probably the biggest story away from who wins the regular season title is going to be the question of, will you have to go through Harvard on their home floor to win the conference tournament and get the automatic bid? There's the upcoming schedule. Circle Wednesday, though. Brown at Rhode Island. It's an Ocean State game.
Ocean State game.
We love the Ocean State.
I don't think there was a tournament this year.
There was no tournament this year
Yeah,
like we
it
had
did.
last year, but
Oh,
Brown did win it a couple years ago.
yeah, they
Let's
did.
uh let's jump over to
Oh,
the Mid American Conference, keep things rolling along here, where Ohio is still leading the way. They picked up wins at Stetson and over Marshall this past week, and I'm really, really high on this Ohio team at this point.
yeah, I am too. Two losses. One of those at Rupp Arena in a game where they were at least reasonably competitive. Uh, Buffalo, I still think that they have a very high ceiling. I don't want to say that they've been disappointing, but they've missed some opportunities. I do think that they're still really dangerous. If anybody's going to stay with Ohio, it's them. As far as the rest of the league, I mean, Toledo's kind of fun. Miami, Ohio was kind of a fun story for a little bit until they weren't.
Yeah, I don't think they are anymore.
Yeah,
they fall after that Georgia Tech win to start the season. They've kind of collapsed here.
yeah.
Um,
But I think it's a 2-horse race, Chad.
on Saturday, Buffalo and Canisius, a Big Four
game.
rivalry. It's actually
Yeah.
part of a Big Four series that's going to be going on Saturday. It's Buffalo and Canisius, and the other game should be St. Bonaventure Niagara, but instead it's Albany and Niagara. I
Don't understand that.
don't know why. It's actually a triple header. They have a game between two non-D1 teams from the local area as well. So the Big Four triple header featuring Albany and Niagara and no bodies.
Featuring all 6 Big Four teams.
Well, no, they're missing one of them. They're missing one of them too.
Yeah.
There's the rest of the schedule, though. Obviously, you want to take a look at Ohio. They're going to be hosting South Carolina upstate on Tuesday.
Mhm.
Jumping over to what conference is next? How about the MEAC? Still haven't been able to find a final score on South Carolina State's game against Carver College for tonight.
I mean, and this could have been a history-making game. It was.
But NC Central picks up another road win for this conference, winning at Gardner Webb. Not a huge, but you're now looking at this conference. Everybody other than Delaware State does have a Division I win already.
Oh, Delaware State doesn't. Yeah, okay.
Right. Coppin State, 15 games already to lead the nation by far in number of games played. But that's about all we can really say about the MEAC at this point. I do like this Norfolk State team.
I do too. I think they're the team that I like to win the league. But as you say, with such a high percentage of these games being bye games, you can't really tell much.
Yeah, Norfolk State will be has a pair of road tests at Loyola Chicago, at New Mexico this week. So big road trips. I don't know that they can win either of those games, but we'll see what happens. That's pretty much it for this conference, though. Let's just keep things rolling, I think. And what's comes next? How about the Missouri Valley Conference? And we should probably save this for a little bit, but let's go ahead and do it, because as we record this right now, Drake, one of the preseason favorites, a team that we thought would be top 25 good, maybe 6, 7 seed in the NCAA tournament good heading into the season, is in overtime with Jackson State. A game that they should have blown out by 20 points.
And at the end of regulation, Jack State put up a shot from beyond midcourt that hit the rim. And I was like, oh my God, I thought it was going in. But whether Drake wins this game or not, it would certainly be very damaging if they didn't. But the damage has already been done. So from an inside the bubble perspective, does it really matter? Jack State just went ahead, by the way.
But it does.
How disappointing are our expectations for this league in the preseason were that we actually discussed, would we even include this in under the radar? Because we thought we would have 2 top 25 teams and 4 NCAA tournament teams.
Right.
That has not played out, Chad.
Now, Loyola Chicago is still very good. They've been picked up a road win at an SEC team, albeit Vanderbilt, but I'm still very high on this Loyola Chicago team. I think they will be. They're 33 in the polls. They could be in the top 25 in another week or two if they keep winning.
I think they will be. Maybe
that,
not in a week or two, but they will be.
Beyond that, the only other team I'm looking at right now, especially if Drake loses this game, is one of the teams we liked heading into the season was very disappointing was Missouri State. Last 2 games, a nice win over Oral Roberts. Then they pick up a win over South Dakota State by 12 points last night. I didn't see that coming. I thought South Dakota State was going to go in there and win the way Missouri State had played. Maybe Missouri State has got things figured out and is going to turn the season around here.
They might. Is it
And
too little? I mean, is it? Have they missed too many opportunities, or
I,
if they blow through their league, can they get it?
I'll tell you, I'm going to pull Missouri State up here on the left. I think they have time. They definitely have time. They've got a road trip
Well,
to
they got
St.
St.
Mary's.
Mary's. Ooh, that is big. Okay, yeah.
Uh,
And then they
after
need
that,
that.
after that, it is conference play. So you don't have that big non-conference. You do have two bad losses already down there at the bottom. I don't think that East Tennessee State loss is going to be that bad at the end of the day. But they're going to need to have a huge volume of wins. They're going to have to win at Drake. They may have
Yeah.
to do the old reverse split with Loyola Chicago. Each win on your opponent's
Yeah,
court.
like
So you know,
back in the old days of the Missouri Valley, we had coined the phrase Wichita State and Creighton, the road win exchange program,
road win exchange program.
because neither team could win at home in that series.
There's the rest of the upcoming schedule. Loyola Chicago is to be hosting Norfolk State. We actually mentioned that already. Then they've got a trip to Davidson on Wednesday. Again, assuming these games are even on. Northern Iowa, we mentioned, is going to be on their way to the Diamond Head.
Right. So in looking at this, I do think Loyola is well deserving. I do think that they're one of the 30 best teams in the country and that they will get into the top 25. The question is, with the league not being what we thought it would be, how many strikes do they get? And I say this thinking that they're not going to need that many, because I just think they're going to win at least 16 games in conference play. But, you know, it's not going to be as safe as we thought it was coming into the year.
Let's keep rolling here. We're going to go very quickly through this next conference. It is one of our favorite leagues in the Northeast, but it's also an almost meaningless conference this time of year before we get to conference play. There it is. That's what happened. Not really, no notable wins here. Wagner still has the great metrics, but they had a shutdown, so they're behind in the number of games, and I think that their metrics are going to come back down to into the hundreds or so. I mean, they may still be the best team in the conference, but they're not going to be anywhere near the bubble, and 53 net is generally near the bubble. That's not
right.
stay.
Yeah. No.
And the upcoming
150s.
The upcoming schedule there, Wagner is going to be hosting Delaware State, that winless team, winless against D1, a road trip to Fairfield.
Eastern Kentucky going to Bryant. All right.
There we go. Bryant is one of the teams that's in contention to play Iona for Saturday. I don't know if it's going to really happen or not, but they did have a game canceled as well. I believe it's coming up soon here. But let's just jump right on over to the Ohio Valley Conference, which is a lot more interesting right now. It was almost our featured conference. It probably will be in the next week or two here, because we have two very good teams at the top of the standings here. Not only Belmont, who beat Iona and won that event and had a very impressive win over Chattanooga on Wednesday night.
Yeah,
we got Murray State there as well.
Yeah, both these teams really good. If you could pull both of them up, there's really nobody else in the league worth discussing.
Just a quick aside: Drake did get the win by 5 points over Jackson.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, good deal. So, season-saving win for them. But Belmont and Murray, when you look at these profiles, both of them, these are at this point in the season at large caliber profiles. They are.
well, there's no bad losses on either profile.
Yeah, and there's
Murray
good
State,
wins.
Murray State needs a little bit more than just a win at Memphis, although Memphis definitely turned things around with the win over Alabama. But, you know, Belmont just got the Chattanooga win. Murray State, here you go on Saturday. You get the shot at Chattanooga. Then you get a trip to Auburn. You win those two games, your profile looks better than Belmont's. I like Belmont's better right now, though.
Yes. Another thing Murray State needed not do is schedule Cumberland, Campbellsville, and Tennessee Wesleyan. Like, you do not need to be playing non-D1 opponents if you're trying to get inside the bubble.
Well, I don't know that they really thought they were going to try to get inside the bubble heading into the season. I'll defend them on that, just because there was talk about Belmont being that good. I don't think anybody thought Murray would be this good heading into the season. Belmont, you really shouldn't be scheduling Bethel of Indiana. You know who's available, Belmont? Yes. Playing Iona again. How about going to play them again? Get a rematch. Why not?
Yeah, that's a good point. Why not? And you know who else is available, Chad? It is a D1 opponent, Carver Bible College.
Carver Bible is available. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where's our standings here? Let's go back over here and keep things rolling along here. I don't know if there's anything else really of note in terms of wins for this conference. Tennessee State has one more victory tonight. They won a game at Charleston Southern. That's not on the screen yet. But we mentioned the Chattanooga Murray State game.
That one's real big.
Other than that, I mean, there's a few power conference teams here, trips to Ohio State and Cincinnati and the like, although that UT Marquette Ohio State game might be off with Ohio State in a COVID pause. But
Okay, and we need to get Carver Bible College in the Martin, Tennessee, if that is the case.
Patriot League. The Patriot League, we've had not much. Navy picked up a decent road win at Marist this week. That's probably the only win truly of note, I think, in this conference this past week.
Yeah, pretty much.
But this is a conference that I think is definitely waiting for league play at this point. There's
I am. This is
the rest of the schedule for the upcoming schedule for the week is there on the screen. Navy's going to be hosting Towson, a little crosstown rivalry game there, I guess, right?
Yeah, sure.
Lehigh at Syracuse. Picking the
Who is
upset.
Loyola playing Goucher?
Actually, I have a little bit of news about this. This is very upsetting today.
Okay.
Loyola's game against Goucher has been canceled.
Oh, okay.
Here's what happened. Duke's game against Cleveland State. Cleveland State is going into a pause. Duke's game against Cleveland State on Saturday is off. Duke was looking for a replacement opponent. Loyola will be playing Duke.
Oh, Loyola, the Ramblers. Okay.
Yes. In order to get that game in their schedule, though, Loyola had to cancel the Goucher game. This is a travesty. How dare you cancel Goucher, Loyola, to play Duke? I'm very upset about this one, actually.
Yes. All right.
But no Goucher game, unfortunately. Maybe next year.
And there's no room. There's no more room for non-D1 opponents on Carver Bible College's schedule.
Let's keep rolling here. Southern Conference, Chattanooga. We mentioned the loss to Belmont and their upcoming game with Murray already, but kind of the rest of this conference, it's still a bunch of teams that are not really standing out. But I still think maybe it's kind of a bad week actually with East Tennessee State. Very strange.
East Tennessee State, loss. Very strange home loss. That one was kind of shocking, really. Especially the way they'd kind of been on a roll here. Other than that, I would say that no one's really performing at large caliber level, minus maybe Chattanooga, depending on they still have a few chances. But everyone, and I do mean literally everyone, is performing at probably a higher level than we thought they would.
That's fair to say that these teams are, are competitive. Chattanooga has the win at VCU. They've got 5 true road wins already. They get this Murray State and this Middle Tennessee game, these next 2, and they win this conference outright. No longer maybe 3 losses in conference.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a bubble resume.
Yeah, it could be.
You win the rest of your games, you're in. But but I'm trying to say realistically, yes, but I don't think you're going to win at Mercer and at Wofford and at Greensboro and at Sanford and at Furman. You're not going to win all those games.
Yeah, this is going to be there's going to be a lot of rock fights in this conference. There normally are, but it's a great league. It's just that minus Chattanooga, I don't think anyone really has a path. Furman, I thought would, but they've kind of let me down. I've stopped beating that drum.
Yeah. There's the rest of the upcoming schedule. East Tennessee State at Georgia next Wednesday night. Circle that game.
They can win that.
Now, if they played at home against North Carolina A&T, they will get blown out. But yes. I think that game is winnable.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping over to the Southland Conference, and we're going to very, very quickly take a look at it. There's the league. Corpus Christi was actually a team that we've been kind of looking at, that they had that gaudy record. They hadn't played anybody. They won at Omaha. Then they went to Minnesota, and I know they lost the game, but they were there.
They were in it. That was an impressive showing. And I'm starting to think Corpus Christi might actually be for real by Southland standards. And how about Nichols? Also a valiant effort in a loss the other night. They led for much of that game.
They were right there with the game at Wisconsin and just barely lost it. So these top 2 teams may be a little bit better than the rest of the conference. And I know this is now the lowest rated conference in the country, but these 2 teams, it could be a little bit dangerous.
I think they can be. Yeah.
Corpus Christi has a trip to Notre Dame next Wednesday. Maybe want to circle that one.
Yeah.
Nicholls State has one of those road buy games. You're on the road, but you're the team that's buying the game, I think, right, when they go to Oregon State against the absolutely
Yeah.
horrible Beavers team. But
Yeah.
they should be favored to win that game. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. Oregon State is horrible.
Um, let's jump over to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And we have multiple teams still without D1 wins. Florida A&M, Arkansas Pine Bluff, Mississippi Valley, Prairie View. It's kind of maybe there's a few more D1 wins actually, though, so far this SWAC than we normally have.
We normally have, and of course, Texas Southern, the story, ever since starting off 0-7, they've won their last two, including the win at Florida. Southern has looked good at times. I'll be honest, I just don't watch. It's hard to evaluate the SWAC when they're always on the receiving end of bye games, when they're the road team.
Jackson State last year, when undefeated in the regular season, got knocked off by Texas Southern in the conference tournament semifinals. But Jackson State, way they played at Drake tonight, who knows? They've already got 2 D1 wins. They could be a factor in this conference.
So when you look at some of there's reasons to be optimistic about a few of these teams: Southern, Texas Southern, and like you just said, Jack State.
Yeah. There's the rest of the upcoming schedule here. Southern, they're at Dayton. That may be over their heads. I don't know.
Yeah, probably is.
Texas Southern is at Cincinnati.
Also probably over their heads.
Hey,
they can meet up for lunch. Those two schools pretty close.
Different days, but
okay.
But you know what? I would not be surprised to see Texas Southern win at Cincinnati. It would not shock me.
Really, it would shock me.
I don't think the Cincinnati team is very good. They had one fluke win over Illinois, and that was Illinois just not showed up for that game. That is not under the radar, though. The Summit League is under the radar, where we've got Western Illinois still on top. I don't believe they even played this week, though, so they didn't really move at all. South Dakota State, you thought they were bouncing back. They get the big win against Washington State. Then they lose the game to Missouri State, though. So you don't know. I've been very up and down on this team.
Yeah, me too. Up and down is the way to put it. Like, it looks like they're good and they win a somewhat notable game, and then they have another one where you feel like they should win it and they don't. But I think the story here, if you're looking for one, is the Leathernecks, because Western Illinois, while they've had their moments, has never actually been good for an entire week, much less an entire season. And yet here they are. Like, can they win this league?
North Dakota State's another team that always is going to be a factor in here.
Yeah.
We liked Kansas City heading into the season. They've kind of disappointed this year. This week they lose a game to Edwardsville, and it's not a good Edwardsville team.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Kansas City, I just don't think is going to be there. Oral Roberts obviously was a story last year, so we'll see if they can bounce back when we get into conference play. But really, at this point, we've got to wait for conference play, see what happens. Upcoming schedule here: North Dakota State's at Pacific. Western Illinois, actually, we're going to be starting some conference play starting beginning of next week. Western Illinois trip to Denver, and then a trip to Omaha. So they have the easiest possible road trip. Maybe not only in the Summit League, but maybe the entire
all of college.
Exactly. Can you have an easier 2-game road trip in conference play than at Omaha and at Denver? I don't know. But that could let them start out 2-0 in conference play as well. So think about it. Sun Belt Conference. I am officially on the South Alabama bandwagon.
I am too. Wow. It took me a while to get there, but I'm on it.
They went and they beat Tarleton. Now, beating Tarleton on paper is not going to look very good, but Tarleton plays that slow down style and draws out the possessions. They shoot when there's -3 seconds left of the shot clock or whatever it is. Each possession takes 7 minutes of game time off, and they beat them. Now, bad news for South Alabama, they got to play them again. But they are definitely the team that I'm there with.
And you mentioned 5-2 against D1. One of those losses was a game against Alabama, and they were right in it.
They
So,
were, and like I mentioned, their upcoming game Friday night, they're at Tarleton. Uh,
yeah.
and I don't even know that I think that may be their last game before the Christmas break for South Alabama, at least. You see the other games up there. Texas State, a huge game against Paul Quinn. Uh,
Big game.
Actually,
Yeah.
but the next Wednesday at Houston, though, is I mean, that's above their heads for Texas State, but this Texas State team has shown a little bit of life here as well so far this season.
Mm.
Uh, Last of our regular conferences, the Western Athletic Conference, and let's do it. Let's start out by giving a shout out to Chicago State. 4 D1 wins on the season after
That's
winning at
incredible.
IPOI tonight.
And you know what? Good for them. I mean, for real. Like, this is a team that would take them 3 years to win 4 games for a stretch. So they're kind of getting. It's nice to see them making some progress. I hope that I would actually love it if this program got it turned around to the point to where they could contend for a conference title. Now, it won't be in this conference. We don't know what conference it will be in, but
yeah, they have no conference at the moment for next season. We could see the rare independent.
Yeah.
Which means I'm going to have to make a whole new workbook page here for us just to show the independence. So thanks a lot, Chicago State. So,
Yeah. Hey, Summit League, get on it. Get on the phone.
New Mexico State, though, is the story.
Yes, absolutely.
And the game they played at Washington State, where they were down 20 points last night, right at the start of the second half, and I went to bed because there was nothing else worth watching.
Well,
Literally
yeah,
went
and the
to bed.
first half would have put you to sleep.
You joke about going to bed. I really did go to bed. I found out this. I looked at the scores this morning and said, "Wait, what?" That was my reaction. Absolutely, but they won at Loyola Marymount. I think this New Mexico State team is ready to turn it on.
Oh, I think so too, and I think they're good enough to get into the 40s and be inside the bubble.
Oh,
they're good. Yeah.
Well, the problem.
Well, who in the league? Well, you pull them up because I just don't. The league is a little bit stronger than what it's been. I think that's going to help their metrics.
They have one bad loss. It's New Mexico, and they actually won. Then they bounced back from that by winning at New Mexico, so it kind of cancels it out. They have that. I mean, you've already played New Mexico Highlands, and now you got Northern New Mexico and Texas Permian Basin, really. But
yeah, God,
and then it's just conference play after this, though. That's all they got left.
Yeah, and you don't see many losses.
You don't. I mean, the trip to Grand Canyon. Do they have a trip to Abilene? Even I think they only play Abilene at home as I look at that schedule. Yeah. So, the trip to Chicago State, dangerous road trip.
Dangerous road trip. Yes, dangerous part of town.
Utah Valley, of course, you can't forget. Utah Valley did beat BYU, so that'll be a dangerous team to play as well as we go through this conference. But the games against the Lopes will probably be the best games of the season.
Yeah,
as they've been the last few years.
Yeah, as they've been. Those are make sure you're on Twitter during those games. It's phenomenal.
There's the upcoming schedule. The Lopes apparently have a game against the Dons, San Francisco Dons on Saturday. Hopefully that game goes off. The rest of the schedule is Seattle at Washington. I think Washington is finally going to be back on the court. So,
yeah.
The Lopes are at Nevada, potentially winnable game. Utah Valley's at Washington, a potentially winnable game here.
Yeah. So could be a nice week for the WAC.
That is all of our regular conferences, but let's turn to a few of our mythical conferences. We need to check in on them. Let's start by checking in on the Front Range, where let's get the scores to load here. What's going on? Okay, there we go. We have a 3-way tie between Colorado State, Wyoming, and Air Force, although Colorado has not yet played a Front Range game. I don't know what's going on, why they haven't played a conference game yet.
Why you can't just not play conference games. Denver's struggling here, 0-2.
Yeah, rough start in conference play. In terms of the upcoming schedule here, do we have any Front Range games on the schedule for this week?
Does not appear so.
No, we don't, unfortunately. Although,
Colorado State, big game in Alabama, but we talked about that already.
Wyoming will be on in the Diamond Head. They could be facing Liberty or Northern Iowa. How about the other mythical conference? We've started following this season.
I'm
talking about the Beehive Conference. Yes. Everybody has already lost at least one game. We had going to have a hell of a season in the Beehive Conference.
Wow. Wow. I mean, look at how tight those standings are. There is a 7-way tie for first place in the loss column. Look at that, Jack.
It's amazing. And this is huge because if you win this conference, what do you get?
An auto. Oh, you get the that's what you get, the okra bucket.
The old okra bucket.
Yeah.
Champion of the Beehive Conference will be receiving this, and we'll be making certain they do receive this.
Yes.
Let's take a look. Any upcoming Beehive? We know there's a couple of upcoming Beehive conferences. We discussed them earlier. BYU Weber State is coming up this week, as is the Dixie State Southern Utah game next Wednesday.
That's a Beehive game.
So we got a couple of Beehive games on the schedule this week. So look out for those Beehive Conference games.
Yeah.
Let's go to our under the radar top 10 list.
Okay. Yeah.
This is our top 10 list for December 16th. Rocco Miller, who was not able to make it in here, he did vote along with you and I here. Let's go through some honorable mentions, teams that got votes but did not make the list.
No eaters, really? Okay.
UC Irvine just missed making the top 10. Also, Louisiana Tech, College of Charleston, somebody who voted before their loss tonight, put them on there. And South Alabama, getting a little bit of love,
Mm-hmm.
Coming in number 10, we have Oakland. Did not play this past week, but is still hanging in the top 10 list.
Top 10. Yeah.
Number 9, Chattanooga did suffer the loss, made them fall a bit in the standings, still in the top 10 though.
Yeah, and the team that beat them is assuredly there as well.
Number 8, their next opponent, Murray State, is in there creeping up the standings. And not the best team in the Ohio Valley.
No, but God, what a week they've had.
2-way tie for 6 between Monmouth and Ohio. Monmouth, who we talked about at the top of the show there. Ohio, best team in the Mid-American Conference.
Yeah, I agree there.
Both MAC conferences showed coming in here at number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in 2-way tie for number 4, New Mexico State, who we just talked about, and UAB out of
UAB. Wow, yeah, big for them.
Now we get to our top 3 here. Coming in number 3 is Belmont out of the Ohio Valley Conference.
Very, very much deserved. I think this Belmont team is going to be inside the bubble.
Number 2, team that may not be under the radar much longer if they crack the top 25 next few weeks, Loyola Chicago. Really, really do like this Loyola team.
Yeah, I do too. And we like the number 1 team. And I tell you, you got to keep an eye on this coach. He has a future.
It is the Iona Gales. We don't know who they're playing Saturday, but they will get a game in. We're going to make sure of it. Maybe we could give the old Ochre Cup to the winner of that game too.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
Let's on that note. That's it for the under the radar top 10. That's it for the show. Basically, let's do any other final. Dave, you got any final thoughts to just get us out of here?
Kind of what we just said at the beginning of the show. I hope everyone stays healthy, and I hope we're able to get the games in. And I am just, like everybody else, ready for life to return to what it was before, when it was so great. And I've always thought college basketball was more important than health anyway.
So we think your health is more important than college basketball. After your health, college basketball next. Then we can talk about things like family and friends and money, and those things are not important.
Right now.
But on behalf of David Griggs over there, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with our normal regular schedule. We'll talk to you again real soon.